hope you're ready for this.
Gonna be fun.
You will not stand in my way.
Frostborn, hunger. This pleases me.
I do not fear you, mortal.
Your soul shall be mine.
Don't make me laugh.
Needs a brew? Oh, I do. Feel a shredding, baby. Let the battle begin.
So hello and welcome to the 4th episode of the Nexus Trolls, a podcast all about Heroes of the Storm. So I'm your host, Linus Daz Kilius, and I'm joined as always by Shiz. Say hello, Shiz.
What is up, peeps?
And Mystic. How's it going?
Hello.
So, Shiz, I'm not sure if you caught the show last week. You obviously missed it because you had a family issue that you had to deal with, but it was very informative. The one thing I took away from it is that Shiz is officially expendable. We no longer require Shiz during our shows. Me and Mystic, I think we did a pretty good job. We were so worried. We're like, it's going to be like a 20-minute show without Shiz here to like fill the time. But we ended up filling an hour and I think 40 minutes too. So turns out we can hold a show without you.
Wow, expendable. Damn.
In all seriousness, though, you were sorely missed. We like having the Shiz banter throughout the discussion and everything. So
man, oh man.
Yeah. So we have a ton of stuff to get through. So maybe we should just jump right into it. What do you guys think?
Let's do it.
So we got some news to start off with.
Someday, this will make a great story.
The Nexus Challenge has come to the Nexus. It just started yesterday, November 15th, and it goes until January the 4th. Now, this is a pretty amazing little bonus feature that Blizzard's trying to do some cross-promotion, getting people come over from, say, Overwatch and other games to play and get introduced to heroes. So what the Nexus Challenge is if you play 15 games with a friend, you will get a whole bunch of bonus stuff. The Oni Genji skin, spray, and player icon in Overwatch, as well as Zarya, the Oni Genji portrait in Heroes of the Storm. So that's Zarya the hero. You get a free hero for playing 15 games with a friend, which is pretty awesome. If you play 30 games with a friend, you get Ariel, Greymane, Kerrigan, Li Ming, Orochi Hovercycle Mount, and a 30-day stim pack. That's pretty awesome, guys. What do you think about that?
Those are some damn good heroes they're giving away.
Yeah. The one thing that I'm a little bummed by, and I guess there's not too much of a reason to be bummed by, is that if you own any of those heroes, and I happen to own all of them, you don't get like gold compensation or anything. You just don't get anything for those. You still get the hovercycle mounts and the stim packs and such, but you don't actually get the heroes, which I understand this whole Nexus Challenge is for newer players. It's not really for those that own most of the heroes, but still it's a little disappointing. I was hoping to get a little influx of cash, and I know Mystic was as well.
Yeah, a little
Mystic
bit.
over there.
So poor.
Yeah. So me and Mystic were actually grinding through our games. I think we got 7 in last night, too. A lot of games with Varian, too, which we're going to be talking about later in the show. Hence the title of the show, too. Hail to the King, baby. Yeah, so what do you guys think? Do you think this is going to do its job and get people into the Nexus playing Heroes of the Storm?
I think it'll attract a crowd. It'll give maybe start getting rid of that stigma that's following heroes around, that it's a bad game, it's a bad investment, don't play it. I think it's definitely going to help out in a lot of ways. You're going to get the Overwatch that are going to flux in more, and then with if they keep doing these kind of promotions where it brings the Overwatch in to our game, you're going to get people that are going to start playing both, and then maybe they'll make the transition where they're playing both reliably. I mean, you could do this for almost all of the platforms of Blizzard's games, and I think it'll help. I think this year's going to be a really good year for Heroes of the Storm. I think they're moving in a great direction.
I sure hope so. Actually, since they started this just the other day, there's been a bit of a bump in Twitch viewing as well, which is always great to see. I've seen some negative feedback on this as well. It seems like a lot of the Overwatch streamers, the popular ones, are coming in to get their own Oni-Genji skin and everything, and they've been hacking on the game a little bit, kind of like playing it down. And a lot of the comments I've seen in Reddit are like, what, maybe Blizzard should have gone in and maybe had some casters, like popular casters from both Heroes and Overwatch, casting together and getting their friends their Nexus challenge completed together, which I think would have been a great idea. I mean, it's not, I'm sure, Blizzard's fault for not doing it. It's probably just maybe they just didn't think of it. Maybe it's something they'll think about in the future. But I do think they're learning from their past mistakes, because the last time they tried this, like get everyone and bring a friend in, was the bit where you had to get, I think, 5 friends invited into the Nexus. You had to send them a link, and they had to get to level 5, and then you'd get your hover cycle mount, right? And everyone gained that system. Everyone starts making Smurf accounts, getting them to level 5, and then hover cycle mount. And it was annoying for people who've been in the game a long time who really wanted that mount because it was a sweet mount. They couldn't just, send it to 5 of their existing friends who were already past level 5. It's asking for 5 new ones. And most of us have probably, we've used our friend group and brought as many of them as we could into Heroes. We don't have a fresh set of 5 friends. If you're like me, you probably don't have more than 5 friends who play video games on a regular basis in the real world. So it's tough to find those people to bring in. So I think this is a much better way to do it. It does reward people who've been playing for a bit. Obviously, not as much for those who have all the heroes, but it does reward veterans as well as beginners too, which I think is a great thing to do.
Unless you have everything.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I feel like it's one of those like needy kid things. Like we didn't have this Nexus challenge. We weren't getting any of this stuff, free stim packs or anything, or heroes. You know what? It's easy to cry, okay, great, I should have gotten 10,000 gold, but at the end of the day, it's free stuff. We shouldn't be complaining. We're getting free stuff to people who are coming in the game. More people in the game is healthier for everyone. So I think at the end of the day, it's good for everybody. And
I still want free shit.
I know. Well, I know Mystic doesn't have Zarya, so
yeah, I get Zarya.
You don't have Greymane either. Do you have Kerrigan?
I have Kerrigan. I have like all the other ones but Zarya, which is unfortunate because
these are all very powerful.
Now we
heroes.
know what you're going to be learning.
Yeah. And I mean, 30-day stim pack, that's something to shake a stick at too. So you get 30-day stim pack, you're going to get a ton of gold if you're playing regularly too. So I think this is a great thing for the game. Okay, so let's get past the next challenge, because the PTR patch notes from last week just went live yesterday. That's the Varian patch. There's a ton of stuff in here. Some of it we covered last week. Shiz wasn't here though, so we're going to kind of touch on the key points and get Shiz's input on a bunch of these different changes. So let's start right off the bat. We didn't talk about this last week, but actually, if you decide to do your little sexy Picard auto select, you can actually choose now, instead of from all your heroes, you can actually choose which preferred roles you want. So if you just feel like playing a warrior, you can go auto select, and I want to play a warrior, and it'll queue up as a warrior instead of just, anyone in your group. You can also choose as, just your favorites. You can filter it by your favorites, so you'll only play one of your favorites if you queue as an auto select. Now, I love that because I hate playing Rexxar. And every once in a while, I feel like doing auto select, letting life be a little bit of a gamble, right? But oh man, landing on Rexxar is just not fun for me, and having to play not fun for the other people on my team.
Double zero and roulette for you, huh?
It is. I crap out anytime I hit Rexxar. Do you guys auto select at all, or is that just me on occasion?
I auto select, but not really. I mean, I've done it on occasion, but I have a deep enough hero pool where it's just what do I feel like playing? And usually I'm playing with friends, so I always try to round out the comp. And unless we're just cheesing it in some retarded way, but other than that, I usually just flex pick.
I have quests to complete, heroes to get to 9, so I need all that gold, so I usually don't auto select. If I had all the heroes, I probably would.
Well, now if you've got a warrior quest, you can auto select a warrior, right? Choose your preferred role. Do you guys is this just me? I've heard them called sexy Picards before, because the auto select guy looks like a buffed up version of Jean-Luc Picard from Star Trek. Have you guys heard that before? Heard that term? I'm seeing a bunch of blank faces. I feel like a bit of a dumbass, but you know what? Maybe we'll start a thing. Sexy Picards.
Well, you are, but
Whenever I queue up with my buddies and we do 5 auto selects, we always say, let's do sexy Picards. Here we go. Okay, you take a look at that.
I mean, do you have model. A fantasy? Do you want to let our fans know something?
It is a shirtless Jean-Luc Picard, so I guess maybe, I don't know. But next time you see the model, take a look at it. It's definitely Jean-Luc Picard, the captain from Star Trek: The Next Generation, all buffed out.
It could be anybody. It's just a silhouette.
Well, take a look next time, and you're gonna see it.
You could say it's Batman.
You won't be able to unsee it. Thank God he has pants on. This is a family show, right?
Oh my gosh.
Okay, so everyone can now enjoy their sexy Picards in the Nexus, and I hope you enjoy it as much as I do, which apparently, according to Shiz, is a little too much.
Oh, man.
Okay, so next up on the docket, stealth changes. I know Mystic's got a lot of thoughts about this one. So basically what's happening now is any effects that reveal stealth, like that's like Tassadar's Oracle or any sort of like Brightwing's Peekaboo, for instance, they no longer remove the stealth effect. They just reveal the stealth hero. So the hero can go out of the range of whatever that reveal talent was and go back into stealth without having to worry about waiting whatever the periodic time is, or if you're somewhere waiting for your Windwalk to come off cooldown. And also, any talents that are buffed while in stealth, so that's like, speed boost if you're Samura while you're windwalking, or Nova with her speed boost when she's in stealth if you talent into it, they're now activated when you're granted stealth by another hero, which is kind of interesting. I mean, it's a very niche thing because there's only a couple in the game that I can think of offhand, Tyrande with her Shadow Stalk, and Medivh on level 20 can grant stealth to a hero as well. But that's kind of cool. You get that extra bonus, like move speed if you're Samura, or Nova if you talent into it, so that's pretty cool. And then also these stealth changes, they add another little thing in too. Scouting Drone, which Malf, Medic, and Raynor all have, will now reveal stealthies. So it's not just scouting the area, it's also revealing the stealthies in the area. Again, it doesn't break stealth, but at least it's another tool in your toolkit to avoid getting ganked by that annoying Nova in your games. I think we've all encountered those annoying Novas.
That's gonna play a huge factor as well, because you now are you're revealing them, which is absolutely amazing, and it's a constant reveal in the area that you're putting it in. So for the Zeratul lovers and the Nova players and the stealthy Samuro players, like, Raynor's gonna out you every time. A good Raynor will out you. A good, Malfurion's gonna out you and root you, and nothing you can do about it, and you got to play around it. They're pretty much taking away an entire section of the map you can't play on.
In general, I see this as quite a buff to stealthies with obviously the scouting drone portion of it, but they stay stealth. It's
a buff to both sides, honestly. It's like, hey, you're still going to be stealth, so you're going to get everything that you needed. But on the flip side, those guys are going to be able to say, hey, Peekaboo, I see you. So,
but those are always there, right? So, I mean, you get the added bit for scouting drone now revealing, but I mean, how often? I mean, it's a very niche talent pick for Malf, Medic, and Raynor to pick that scouting drone, and I'm sure they're up against probably pretty competitive talents that you're going to be taking instead of this, right? So, I don't know.
But I mean, it'll also have effect in, competitive play. Now does Malfurion, go into, where his scouting drone, if they pick a Zeratul, that's going to limit Zeratul. Zeratul is going to have an entire section of that fight where they can just drop it on the back line and be like, you can't gank us in this area. You're going to be revealed. We're going to see it coming.
That's true.
And if you have a Malfurion and a Raynor, that's double scouting drones that you can just put out and be like, if you try to come in and VP us, we see this coming. That plays a huge effect.
Oh, for sure. And me and Mystic can both attest to this because we played a game last night. I think there was 3 stealthies, Zeratul, Nova, and Samuro. And oh man, is it ever hard to keep track of them all when they're running around the board there? You think you've got like a 5v or maybe even like a 3v2, and then all of a sudden 3 guys pop up in your back line.
Yeah. Stealthies just pop up all over the place.
Yeah. Personally, my thoughts on stealth in general, I don't like the mechanic. I'd be perfectly fine without it in the game. You could delete Nova from the Nexus, and I would not shed a tear.
Same.
Not a single tear.
I am the opposite. I actually think it's a very neat mechanic. It's a very niche mechanic. I don't want them to have a plethora of stealthies. I think, within the next 15 heroes, one more stealthy, and I'd call it good at that, to round it out. But
you also love your Zeratul. So I think part of the problem is me and Mystic probably don't play a ton of stealthies. So for stealthies, it's great, right? But if you're one who doesn't play stealthies very often, it can be one of the most annoying mechanics in the world. And having to keep an eye out for that shimmer, it's the same thing with EDC's Mosh Pit. It just makes you nervous the whole time.
I'll tell you what, that is the most aggravating thing when people can spot you in stealth.
Yes.
It's the most aggravating thing in the world.
And it's very satisfying, too. You're like, oh, hey, I see you there. You just toss a grenade or whatever, one of your spells at them. And
you just start poking shit at them, and they're like, fuck, he knows I'm here. I gotta go do this. And then you try to come back in, and they're like, I still fucking see you. I can see your shimmer. And then it makes it really rough.
Because generally they're out of position, too, right? That's the thing. You walk around out of position and hope no one catches you. And if you're Zeratul, luckily you got the blink to get out of there, but Nova's not so lucky. A revealed Nova is going to have some trouble getting away.
Is fresh meat, as they say for Butcher.
Yes, maybe I'll play a little Butcher tonight. Okay, so a couple more changes too. I mean, we mentioned this last week, but catapults are now white on the minimap, which is amazing.
It does. That's amazing.
It's a strange, small little change, but it's one of those ones you're like, why wasn't it like that before? And it's amazing having that.
It's one of those changes where we didn't know we needed it until we got it. And then now that it's like that, it's like, oh my gosh, I can actually see the push happening in my lane and know when I need to respond to it.
Yeah, especially too, like you see 3 dots in the core, you're like, are those catapults? Or are they just like regular little minions, right? It makes a huge world of difference. And you can tell when they're stacking up now too. Or if they're close to being stacked up, right? If the minion waves are collapsing.
When you see a big ass white blob on the map, you know you're kind of fucked.
Yep, it's time to address that. That's for sure. It's a nice little quality of life change. Just something to note. Everyone will probably notice it right away. Like, what are those little white dots on the map? Well, now you know what they are. They're your catapults. Okay, so continuing on. Now, this is an interesting little change. Seizing Marksman is no longer capped. So it used to be that once you got to whatever the damage cap was, like 30 extra damage or something, Seizing Marksman would no longer stack. Now that's not true. There's no cap ceiling. And when you complete the quest, it gives you an activatable button. It used to be 30% attack speed bonus. Now it's 40% attack speed increase. Now, the interesting thing about this is, I mean, it affects... let's see, who's got Seasoned Marksman? Artanis, Falstad, Raynor, Thrall, and Tyrande. But Raynor has jumped up 5.4% on hot slogs as of my last check to 54.9% win rate. And he's third on the list behind Rexar and the Lost Vikings. So that's quite a bit of a boost for Raynor.
He's got 2 buffs. He's got the reveal now on the stealthies, which was one of his biggest problems. I think that he died to, and also the fact now that Seasons Markman doesn't have a cap for him.
Yeah.
You know?
40% attack speed on Raynor, too, especially if you go whatever his Nexus Frenzy at 20.
Oh, yeah, that's insane.
And can you imagine that with like an Abby hat on or something, or like an Ariel attack speed buff?
Oh,
I actually fought one with the Abathur hat on it, and he was taking Seasoned Marksman. It was actually pretty crazy.
Yeah, he's like a little Tychus there, just shooting off. Imagine a giant killer.
Yeah.
Oh god. Yeah, so I guess Raynor's. It's amazing how these small, seemingly little changes can add up to a big difference in win rate. And maybe it's another thing too. I didn't check to see which leagues Raynor was up in, but this might also be the fact that there's a lot of newer people are coming in or coming back to do the Nexus challenge. So maybe there's a lot of people being like, well, I don't have the mechanics of the game now. Maybe I'll just fall into like a comfort pick like Raynor, because pretty much everybody can play Raynor, right? It's like Lily. So maybe that's the case too.
You can't play Raynor.
Maybe a lot of people are, I can play Raynor like a boss, sir. He's one of my best heroes. He always has been.
You mean going 4-11?
I can play a good Raynor, and I don't know where you're getting those stats from. Raynor's one of my top win rate heroes for sure. I love him because
for sure. Shall we pull up the hot slogs?
We should, sir. He's got amazing because he's nice. He's like Li Ming in a way that you can keep your positioning nice and safe, and you just poke from the back line, right? And
until
you do a ton
my
of damage.
bulky Zeratul comes in and ruins your day.
And little did you know, I took Give Me More at level 1, and all of a sudden, all my health comes back, and little did you know, Raynor was actually an off tank. Whenever there's stealthies, I almost always for Raynor go Give Me More at level 1, because like you said, that was one of the things with Raynor. Like if he gets caught out by a stealthy, especially in lane if you're overextended a little bit, he can't really run away that well. So having an extra boost of health really helps. I know it hurts his offensive output, but if you're dead, you're not doing damage, right? So for me, those are my training wheels. I like having Give Me More when stealthies are about. Other than that, Seasons Marksman's the way to go.
Illidan.
Yes, or poor Illidan. Jesus. We're going to be talking about him later, too, because he's had quite a few changes. So why don't we jump into some of the hero changes in the patch notes, because they were aplenty. We can start off with good old Alarak. Either you guys play a lot
Alarak.
of Alarak?
I do. I
play some Alarak.
Yeah, he's a really good hero. He's got a high ceiling cap, but I think he's a very, very fine-tuned hero. His lightning surge is just going to make him even stronger in lane. It's going to make him pretty much like a thrall in lane. Not the greatest wave clear, but he's got a way to replenish his health and poke you out of lane. It makes him a very strong lane bully.
I honestly don't think he needed this. Yeah, his win rate wasn't exactly 50%, but
he was already
strong.
powerful.
Yeah, he was really strong when played well. I don't think he really needed this.
This
buff.
just gives him just a tad bit more to him where he can now safely poke his health back up.
Yeah, it's a fine line, right? Because competitive play, like you see MVP Rich on Alarak, he's like a target ban, right? But
I'm sure Alarak was, or Rich was like, ha ha ha, yes.
Yeah, because if you can pull off that combo well, like he can do a lot of damage. But Alarak is a high skill cap.
He can almost 100 to 0 you, especially late game.
But I do agree with Mystic. He is fairly similar to like a Medivh in a lot of ways, that in the right hands, in the right composition, he can be really good, but his win rate doesn't show it, right? So,
I think he's more like a Kerrigan.
On
steroids.
I'm not saying like playstyle wise. I'm more saying like skill cap wise. Like his win rate in Hot Slogs doesn't show the power of the character.
You just go watch Rich play and you'll understand the power of every character in the game.
Yeah. Well, it's the same. A couple weeks ago we were talking about Muradin and ETC, right? Someone in the chat was asking like, why are you guys like talking about Muradin being so overpowered? He's got like a 46% win rate. And it was because in the right hands, he's amazing. And that's why Blizzard is very careful to touch characters like that, right?
He does not die.
Yeah. Yeah, like Fatty's saying in the chat, a good Alarak is a nightmare. And I agree. Especially coupled with one of our new heroes, Varian, which we'll get to talking to in a bit. But yeah, so Alarak, even that small buff to his range has increased his win rate by 3.2%. Suddenly he's almost a 50% win rate hero in the Nexus. And I think it's like that lightning surge, it does give him a heal, but an extra 10% is nothing to shake a stick at. And also, too, if you can catch more heroes within it and boost your healing from it, right? Because it's not only the hero you click on, it's the heroes in between, too, to give you the healing. So Alarak, again, in the right hands, is a nightmare. So next on the list, Illidan. I think we're going to defer to Shiz for our Illidan analysis because Mystic doesn't even own Illidan, and I am probably one of the worst Illidan players in the game. But our good Illidan can be scary. And one thing before we jump off here, I wanted to note that there were some changes to Illidan from the PTR. I guess Blizzard identified in the PTR he was a little strong, so they actually scaled back some of the changes they made. And he is sitting around pretty much unchanged from his last bit. He's right around the 50% mark on Hot Slogs. So do you want to talk about some Illidan, Shiz?
So the thing with Illidan is the reason you're going to always see minor changes and they're always going to probably revert on their changes is Illidan is one of those heroes just like Kerrigan where if you tweak her just a scotch too much, it's deadly overpowered where everyone's going to be screaming about how broken it is. And if you undertune them just a scotch, you now have a super underpowered Illidan. And the same thing goes with Kerrigan. So they're trying to find that happy medium where he's got a plethora of choices because right now Illidan's a one-trick pony essentially. He's like a Tassadar in a sense, and especially in his talents. And they're trying to find that balance where they can make all of his kit appealing. So level 1, they did Unending Hatred, which increases basic attack damage bonus upon quest from 10 to 20. That is a great thing to have. If you have great wave clear and you don't need to have sweeping damage, do area of damage, this can be the way to go. It's going to be a late game and it's going to stack up and it's going to help you secure your kills. Is it better? I don't know. It's comp dependent. Also, Battered Assault also increases the duration of sweeping strikes from 3 to 5 seconds. Now, they did increase the damage gain from hitting 2+ heroes from 125 to 150. That is too much. Like, that just makes Illidan in a team fight God. So they had to get rid of it, and that makes perfect sense. but the sweeping strike increases the duration from sweeping strike from 3 to 5 seconds is a very nice change to where he's going to be able to heal a lot more. Instead of that 3-second window of the bonus healing, he's now got the 5 seconds. So it's gonna give him a little bit more survivable. Again, it's going to be comp dependent. You know, do you need those heals? Do you need the wave clear? Do you need more damage? So those are the things to keep in track of when you're starting to build your Illidan. At level 4, we got for Unbound, no longer reduce the cooldown of Sweeping Strike. In the quest after hitting 30 heroes with Sweeping Strike, gain a second charge. That is actually very, very good. But you're giving up one of his best talents, which is Friend or Foe, which it gives him an escape. Because Illidan is just a dive and then dive more and then pray to God that your healer is diving with you and can heal you the whole time everyone is focusing you. Friend or Foe gives you an out because now you can dive to one of your allies. This is just going to allow you to dive more and go deep and get the chase kills and maybe get a little bit more healing off. But I don't see it being relevant. At 16, we've got Marked for Death, increases damage from the damage reduction. Actually, this was probably his only nerf he got, really. Damage reduction from 225 to 180. It's the must-pick talent almost at 16. It really was at that point because it just did so much damage, especially when you were chasing somebody. You were always diving somebody, and it just... It probably did need to be nerfed a little bit. It made his chase potential just nigh unbeatable. Illidan overall, he hasn't changed pretty much. His play style is still the same. There's nothing really different about him. He's not more tanky or more bursty or more unkillable. He's pretty much the same character as he is.
So the developer comments specifically said the reason they made these changes is they want to add talent diversity. It looks like their goal with it was to create a sweeping strike type build. Do you think that
it's not going to work?
This?
No. I mean, you might have a couple of players that are going to do it, but you're giving up too much. Because the problem with Illidan is that for a sweeping strike build to work, you need to give up Friend or Foe at 4. And Friend or Foe is just his bread and butter. It gives him an out. Without it, he has no out besides Metamorphosis' ult or Hunt. So you're wasting an ultimate for an escape, which isn't the most ideal thing that you want to be doing. So that takes away from it. Also, you got to make sure that Illidan is survivable. If they had given him his level 7 that they took, which was increasing his healing on Thirsting Blade from 50 to 60%, that might have given you what you needed, because then you can also go into things where Sweeping Strike heals you for more, you're doing more damage, so the healing more. But it's one of those things, just a little bit, and he's super overpowered.
Yeah, it's tough because his damage output is directly related to the healing.
It's his healing. It's the same thing with Kerrigan.
So it is
damage is related to the shields, yeah. So it's a very, very, very fine line that they have to walk. And right now he's in a good spot. He's meta. Problem is you got to build a comp around Illidan. You can't just be like, oh well, I'll pick Illidan because he rounds out the comp. No, you got to build a comp to fit Illidan. So.
I'm glad they scaled back some of his changes from the PTR, because I remember playing him against him in the PTR last week, and he did seem kind of godlike with that sweeping strike build, with that extra damage he got on his level 1 talent, and like you said, the level 7 talent they took away. So I'm glad they scaled back from those, because it was almost impossible to kill an Illidan.
He wasn't even as god. He was getting godlike, but he wasn't as godlike as since when they redid his changes and nobody could kill Illidan, and Illidan was good in every comp. That was godlike Illidan, so.
All right, so Shiz's idea on Illidan then is not much change then. Pretty much the same build will be the same build. I guess that would be meaning he has a bit of a nerf then on 16. Is there any alternate talent choice on 16 that you can take other than Mark for Death? Or is that still the go-to even with the damage reduction?
I think that's still going to be the go-to, even with the because you're just going to be diving and the extra damage is... Usually when you pick a person, yeah. It's just too good.
Yeah. Well, I hate playing against Illidan, so I was kind of hoping this would ultimately nerf him a little bit, but hey, what can you do?
I know.
Illidan, those stealthies, those sticky characters that just won't get off my back. Okay, so Raynor, next one. We already talked about Raynor a bit. There's only one little additional thing that he got changed. Adrenaline Rush, so that's his little, boost of health that he gets when he goes below a certain threshold health point now displays a visual effect under Raynor's feet, which indicates off cooldown. Now, I didn't realize this, but Mystic confirmed that this is visible to everybody. So, in my mind, that would be a nerf to Raynor then, because the worst thing that you can do is when you're trying to 1v1 a Raynor, all of a sudden, that's the official sound effect, by the way, he gets all of his health back, or a significant portion, especially if he took healing.
What's the health effect?
You can pay me $5 to do sound effects, ladies and gentlemen. I do this. I can do this.
Just whore your body out. Yeah, just whore your body out.
I'm perfectly okay with that. I've got no scruples. But anyways, now when you're going after him, you can actually see that he's got Adrenaline Rush off cooldown. So that's a nice little quality life change if you're chasing Raynor down. You know if he's going to get that little bonus, right? So.
It also lets you know when you can dive him and not have to worry about him turning on you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which is funny because Raynor's got up and win rate. I almost wonder if people don't realize this yet.
But it's also, well, the other thing you got to remember too is it's also good for the allies, especially the healer, because the healer knows when they definitely have to get a heal out on to Raynor. Mm-hmm. So that, I mean, it works both ways. So it's not a buff, it's not a nerf really.
So do you guys think, what do you think, Mystic? Do you think it helps the enemy team or your healer in your own team more in this case?
I mean, I think it helps the enemy team a lot more than it helps your team because, like Shiz said, it does help your healer out somewhat. You know when he's going to get that heal. But, I mean, the entire enemy team knows when it's down. Like, you don't have that circle under your feet? Oh, yeah, that makes you a prime target. Get targeted.
Yeah, I think Shiz is a good point, but I think it is still a slight nerf either way you look at it. But it's an interesting thing they put in there. So we'll see. Maybe Raynor's win rate will settle down as people realize this is there because it's the kind of thing that I didn't notice playing against Raynor recently. So maybe it's something I'll keep an eye out for now. So the next big one, and this is one of my favorite little changes they made. It was to Thrall actually. Thrall.
It's because it's your favorite hero.
He is one of my favorite heroes, and I don't know what to think about this. Of course, sometimes I can't hit the side of a truck with a Sunder, so maybe this is a good thing for me because they've buffed Earthquake. Earthquake now deals 50 damage to heroes with each pulse. It doesn't sound like a lot, but the key thing is it triggers Frostwolf Resilience.
What they should have done is said it deals 50 damage and it enthralls invulnerable while under the effect of Earthquake.
Because that's sure what it feels like. And Sunder, they reduced the stun duration from 1.25 to 1 second.
You can't kill a Thrall under an Earthquake. You can't. Especially if it's a 5v5. He can literally go in and just tank the whole team. Because he's triggering off of per person per tick. And it ticks, I think it's 8 seconds and it's one tick per second. Something like that. So essentially for, each second, he's triggering Frostwolf 1.2 times or 1.5 times. And that's not including off of his abilities. He's a god.
Any objective, like if you're at a tribute, even if you're battling a battlefield of eternity around the immortal, like any of these situations where people just have to clear out or deal with Thrall and his whole team, and you're it's like you're moving through molasses, and positioning is just so important. Like one of the things the developers...
It's a pure counter, I think. I think it's a pure counter ultimate now.
And one of the things...
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say one of the things developers said is Earthquake, they always saw the potential of it. I think I brought this up last episode, but Falstad's Gust, very similar too. It used to be that everyone took Hinterland's Blast, and the developers were like, well, hey, this Gust is pretty good, and they kept kind of slightly buffing it until it became the obvious choice 95% of the time. They were worried the same thing was going to happen with Earthquake, because the developers say, hey, this Earthquake's actually better than we think people think it is. If we buff it too much, like making Thrall basically invulnerable under it, this may tilt the scales too much.
Yeah, they definitely did. I mean, it's great for wombo combos. Earthquake's great if you need to divide the team and get that split off and then focus fire someone. Sunder's just great. Or Earthquake's just great, period. I mean, it literally counters. You got a divey team, or they got a divey team, and you need to counter it because they're diving you. Earthquake them. Thrall's a god. He's invulnerable. He doesn't need heals. You can dump all your heals on someone else for 8 seconds, and Thrall can just face melt whoever tries to dive.
Yeah.
The only thing that really counters this is a Sank.
So, yeah, what would you do? Like, what's the best kind of comp then to take Earthquake in? Is it just the go-to pick? Because I mean, Sundering is fairly powerful.
Jaina, yeah, with Jaina, it's absolutely amazing because they're all slowed so much. You could do it with Mosh because they're all slowed. You can land that perfect Mosh as they're all running away. Just time it with right as it comes off of cooldown. Save your stuff. You'll be able to burst out like that last person trying to escape. Sets up great for VPs if you want to. I mean, VP the people that aren't going to be in the Earthquake, and then just focus on the people that are going to be under there, and Thrall will rip them apart. I mean, there's so many different combos you can do with this Alarak. He could pretty much pull everybody into it and then silence them all, essentially.
So it's great. It's great for setting up those wombos. So then, I guess maybe the better question is, when do you take Sunder now? Because it's still pretty powerful. You get a huge position to split the team with the Sunder, right?
You take Sunder when you need to peel the team. For example, you get to their back line and you need to get to that Morales, and that Morales just out-positioned yourself off to the left a little too far. Sunder, split all the team to the right, dive Morales left. Thrall comes in from the back lines, needs to split the team so you can dive to the back line. Sunder them, split them up, dive the back line with your tank, ETC, Tyrael, or Murden, and you have that dive now, the team split. It's also a stun, it's also great for when your team needs an escape. I mean, Sunder can do it too, but Earthquake also does it too, and it splits them. There's a lot of aspects to Earthquake and Sunder. They're both very, very good, but they just made Earthquake extremely viable now.
So do you think Sunder's more like for divey comps, and then Earthquake's more for like explosive blow you up comps then? Would that be a general rule of thumb, or is it more complicated?
There's no general rule of thumb. There's no general rule of thumb. It's dependent on what you need at the time, because Earthquake's good for interrupting ults like Lily's Jugs if you can land it. It's great. It's great for dividing the team. So this way you can get the picks that you need to set up whatever you need to do. Sunder can also be set up for wombo combos. I mean, split the team, void prison it, one-sided team, dive the other. You just set up your wombo combo right there. What do you do? And the other side's also stunned for 1 second, so you can set up there as well. I mean, you just got to be able to look at your team and know your team's potential and limitations, and then decide what you need and go from there. Do you need to dive the back line? Earthquake can be really great in diving the back line because it's so massive, and you can just walk past the tanks and go mess him up, and he's invincible. So that could be the way to go with a Murden or ETC, There's a lot of potentials that now can be made.
Yeah, so I wonder what the default pick's going to be. I mean, Sunder's still picked more often if you look at hot slogs, but its win rate is lower than Earthquake's now.
I think people are sleeping on Earthquake. Yeah, I think people are going to be sleeping. I think these are both very viable ults now, and I would say it's a 50-50. It depends it all depends on your comp. What your comp's capabilities are, potential are, and what you need. Interrupts are good, and that's what Sunder does. If you need that interrupt, or you need to divide their team somehow to get that pick because you ain't going to get it any other way, Sunder's great.
And one of the nice things about Earthquake is it's not a skill shot. So
it's not a skill shot.
You can mess up a Sunder.
Yeah, you can't, mosh. You can't have ETC mosh in and then the Thrall completely miss.
Something else that I kind of want to mention here is that on maps like Towers of Doom or like Cursed Hollow, right, you can actually just put Earthquake on top of the channeling objective and delay it for a good 10 seconds. Because it actually does that little tick of damage.
Yeah, and it does. It just sets up a wombo combo because people, they can't do anything in the Sunder. And the Sunder takes up the entire bottom shrine, I think.
Yeah, or even the Dragon Axe. I didn't even think about that. Because if you're in the mid, you could just throw down the Earthquake and wait for the 8 seconds for his team to come.
Yeah, and Li Ming can have a heyday. Just orbs after orbs after orbs.
So that little 50 extra damage has that additional effect of interrupting the channels for objectives too. So that's a great little tip there, Mystic. Thanks for sharing that. Okay, let's move on to the next hero, Zeratul. And again, I think everybody knows mine and Mystic's take on stealthies, so why don't we defer to Shiz on this one? Quite a few changes to Zeratul. Have you been able to play him at all since the changes?
I have extensively. He's a lot better. He's more I don't want to say tanky, but he's bulkier I guess is the best word. He's harder to kill now. And he can blink everywhere, like just blinks after blinks after blinks. And his burst potential, it's just, and he's got great AoE now, and he can do a jack of all things, and there's no way in any way any of his changes are really a nerf. It's just, they gave you it was like Halloween, and they gave you full-size Kit Kats and Hershey bars and Nestle Crunch bars, and they said pick one, and you went, but they're all so good, and now you have to choose. The only thing that's still constant, you go VP. But I think you're going to see a lot of different builds come out of Zeratul because he's got an AoE build, which is very, very strong. It's great wave clear, does great AoE damage on the backline if they're an all backline team. He's got very good burst single target damage. He can blink in and out ridiculously. I think he's got some where he get one, I think it's on 4-7, he gets either a wormhole, which was like his go-to, it's now at 7, or he can take a double charged blink, which is absolutely amazing because you could blink forward twice now. And but the cooldown's 8 seconds longer. But you can quest into it to reduce the cooldown of it. So there's so many different potentials you can do with Zeratul, and he's just really, really good.
It does seem like he's a lot shiftier. Like I've been seeing a lot of people
very
saying Vorpal Blade at 1. You're saying the dual charge or blink wormhole. That's a lot.
Vorpal Blade at 1, just amazing. Yeah, he can blink in, and then they're going to try to dive away, and then you can Vorpal Blade in. I think the other thing I've seen is they come in, they smack them a little bit, and then they save their blink, and they get away, and then they just instantly Vorpal Blade, and they still have the blink. That's the more preferred way to do it if you're trying to play him. So this way you always have an escape. You always want to have your blink up, but he's going to be very viable and competitive play. You're going to see him get banned, and you're going to see him get quite a bit. In Hero League, I don't know, because people have been sleeping on Zeratul for a while. I think he's always been very, very strong in any competent Zeratul player can absolutely shred a team. But I think he's going to be more meta now.
Yeah, so for any of you who haven't had a chance to check out the new talents, like he's got quite the overhaul. We're not going to go over all the different changes, just like the general feel of him.
Oh my gosh, I could talk about him for an entire show himself.
Well, maybe we'll have one of those shows later. Me and Mystic will just take a back seat and let Shiz just go on a rant about Zeratul.
Oh man, I could do it for a day.
Beefier, it sounds like he's more mobile too, I guess, with like more options for blink.
Yes, I think the biggest thing I do want to point out is his new talent, Shroud of Anduin. And essentially what it is you gain his shield to 15% of his maximum health over 5 seconds while under permanent cloak. So you go stealth, you get a shield. You dive back in, you get out, you get a shield, you go back in. It's just, he's so tanky with it. And the great thing now is when you have scouting drone, he still keeps his shield. It's not like it's going anywhere. He's got it. And what you lost at that, you lost Giant Killer, Burning Rage, and Assassin's Blade, and that was also where Wormhole was. But they moved Wormhole, so you're okay now.
Yeah, and he got a boost to his base health too, so that is actually bigger too. So yeah, it makes he's bulkier. I don't want to say tankier because it's the wrong word, because people are going to think I can go in the back line and do whatever the hell I want. No, you still got to get in, do your combo, and get the GTFO. But this helps now in a lot of ways.
I'd like to point out it's Shroud of a Dune. I play StarCraft, so.
What did he call it?
Shroud of Anduin. I think that's the priest from World of Warcraft or something.
Whatever. Just a filthy casual. Don't listen to him.
Come on, Shiz. So, okay, well, maybe let's move on from Zeratul. He's going to annoy the hell out of everybody just like he always has. So, Abathur got a small change. I wouldn't have noticed it. Can't cast toxic nests for half a second after exiting Symbiote. Now, for me, it takes me half a second to get wherever I need to go on the map to lay those toxic nests. However, I imagine this is more for your crazy APM, high skill cap players that you delay for an extra half a second before they get those nests out. But generally, you can't re-symbiote anyways, so it's not like you're going to be doing a ton. I don't think that's much of a difference to Abathur. You guys play much Abathur at all? I like playing Abathur.
Love Abathur. And my Abathur's at 11 now, I think. Yes.
I play it occasionally, but not too often. So.
Yeah, he's fun to throw in there every once in a while. He's one of those stressful characters. Not as stressful as the Lost Vikings or Rex.
He's not stressful. I don't think he's I think stressful is a very bad word. He's not stressful. He's actually a very fun character to play because you can just punish people all over the map and not have it's like all play, no risk, you know. If you're a good or Abathur player, because you set mines all around you, so you know who's coming your way. Yeah. The only ones that affect you are globals, which is Falstad and Dahaka. And maybe
Stealthies,
ETC. Well, not even stealthies. Stealthies don't bother me because I place a plethora of mines around me, and they got to walk through the minefield, and then they're slowed. And by the time they actually get to me, I'm gone. I see them coming, and you're never looking at your screen. You're looking at your mini map, so you always see it when they get revealed. So a good Abathur, you know, it's a nerf a little bit because now you can't just spam it as soon as you exit symbioting somebody, and when they die, and you can't just plan a whole bunch, you know. But I mean, it's 0.5 seconds.
Okay, I'll give you that. He's not as stressful as Lost Vikings. My brother plays a lot of Lost Vikings. Whenever he gets in the Lost Vikings mode, he's like, don't talk to me. I'm going to do my Lost Vikings thing. Just tell me if there's someone coming up to one of my lanes, and like I won't be like participating in chat at all because my fingers are
Sorry
be, like,
for killing you with Zeratul so much, Belkram. Yeah,
Belkram's in the chat now, so that was a little shout out to Belkram.
Yeah. Sorry, Belkram. I had fun doing it, though.
Okay, let's move along. So one neat thing that they've changed, and it seems like maybe it's because of Alarak and how they've maybe now got this as a mechanic in the game. For Zul, his skeletal mages can now be cast with vector targeting. So that is if you know Alarak, the way that you do his little, I'm not sure what it's called, the push move, you actually click on the spot and you swipe in the direction you want to push. So now you can do that with Zul's skeletal mages as well. Makes it a little bit easier to target them. And I wonder if this is going to be coming for other things as well, like maybe Tastar's Force Wall.
Tastar's Wall, yeah, it definitely will be. That'll be a huge change. It's a buff all around to Zul because now he can place them and block off a whole area and set them up exactly how he needs to. And it's a buff overall. And it's going to be a buff when it hits Tassadar. I think people have data mined that it's going to be vectoring too. And I think vectoring is such a neat thing. I think it's got a good skill cap too. It's like with Alarak, I think his push is definitely a skill cap thing. But yeah.
Well yeah, that radial way that you used to place Tastar's Force Wall and Zul's Skeletal Mages, where it's kind of like on the radius of your circle kind of thing. That was really tough with Quick Cast. If you don't have like on release, it would be tough to get the positioning perfect, right? But with vector targeting, I feel like that changes that. So now you know where it's going to start, and you just draw the line, and generally you have a much better idea of where it's going to be. I'm looking forward to my Tastar Force Walls. I know the healer on our team, another one of my brothers, he likes playing Tastar, but he's like, my Force Walls are atrocious. I should just go Archon. I'm like, well, you can't really go Archon. That's a little bit too noobish. So we're like, just get better at your Force Walls, and hopefully this
Don't tell Mystic that. Mystic swears by Archon.
Yeah, I always go Archon.
I don't know.
It does so much extra damage.
But you lose the
That's
potential
not your job,
of
though.
zoning people. Yeah. He's all about the flashy, making sure he's got big dick damage.
Well, the problem with something like Force Wall, too, is you can mess it up so bad, though. It's like a whiffed mosh. Like, everyone knows you messed up. It's staying up there until it goes down. Your whole team's who is chasing that Lehman that you're trying to isolate, all of a sudden you gave her an escape or something, right? So I can see why people don't want to take Force Wall for that reason, but hopefully this will make it a little bit easier. Okay, so that was Zul's changes. Kharazim, he got a huge rework. So we're just going to go over some of the highlights here.
Oh, man.
He got his healing buff slightly for Breath of Heaven, his W, from 280 to 290. One of the big changes he got was to his level 1 talent, Iron Fists. So that's the talent that every third attack you get a bonus damage boost. So if everyone was going like melee assassin type Kharazim build, that was the talent you took. Now, it also increases your movement speed by 30% for 2 seconds. So that's every third attack, same as the damage boost. So what they said that in the developer comments, they're trying to make him a bit more bruisery, or at least give you the option to make him a bit more bruisery. One of the really cool things they did to Kharazim, though, was his level 4. That's his allies talent. This is replacing some of the things he had before, like his healing totem. Now, instead of totems, he's got an allied. Like, it puts a little image of himself wherever he puts it. It's an activatable ability, so it'll be on your 1. And you can pick between 3. Spirit, which is a healing totem, essentially. Earth, which reduces auto-attack damage to whoever's in the radius. And like more or less like a scouting drone. It's called your air ally. It gives you vision of an area. Now, one of the really cool things about this is, and they showed it off in some of the videos and such at BlizzCon, is that you can dash to them. So if you don't have that dash target, which when you're Kharazim, you don't have a dash target, it can be pretty
my gosh,
stressful.
that's so annoying.
Especially the rest of your team runs away, you're like, just come a little bit closer, guys, so I can dash and get away.
Guys, make sure you stay close enough to me just so I can dash. Why? So I don't die, you moron.
So now if you've got that ally that you can dash to too, which is pretty cool. They show off some like kind of cheesy things where you can put like your vision behind like a structure and see the other team taking the boss. You can jump over, you do some dashing, maybe like, destroy the character, and then you can jump back to your spirit ally and just kind of do some like fancy stuff like that, because dashes go over terrain. But either way, it's nice that it gives you that extra spot to go to. Now, these allies can be defeated similar to totems, but I think they have a little bit more health than totems do in general. I think all 3 of them have different amounts of health and different amounts of time, but generally they're a little bit more bulky. So another cool thing they did too, and I think this is a real big buff, is his level 16 talent, Wave 100 Fists. That's where like you did your Q, which is your dash. You do like a little.
So retarded.
That's some more
what
proprietary
was that
sound effects.
One more time.
You gotta do the fist too.
Oh man!
You hit him with a flurry. It's six extra attacks, right?
You should do Street Fighter fucking sound voices.
Oh, exactly. Yeah, this is a
Mortal
straight out of Street Fighter, sir. So you do the extra 6 basic attacks. They're basic attacks now, so they're not spell damage like they used to be. It's only 50% damage, but the cool thing is it does proc whatever your level 1 talent was. So you get the extra damage out of the Iron Fists and the movement speed, or you get the extra healing, or if it's Insight and you've completed your talent, you get all your cooldowns reduced too. So I'm pretty excited to try out the Insight build with where you get like the crazy reduction in all of your cooldowns. So basically you can just 100 fist, all like just going nuts. Between that and your E, I feel like everything's always going to be off cooldown. You're going to have a ton of mana. I feel like you could probably do a lot of damage, be a pretty utility type Kharazim in that case. I know a lot of people are going,
boss.
Yeah. Oh, sure. I'm sure he could solo boss like nobody's business with something like that, too. So, I mean, you are giving up your cleanse, because he does have cleanse now at 16, which is he dashes, gives a cleansing touch, makes someone unstoppable for a second, which is kind of cool. It's interesting. Go ahead, Shiz.
I don't like that talent at all.
Well,
I hate that talent.
Cleanse,
because if it's like for example, Malfurion roots somebody, right? Do you go get yourself rooted so that way you can get them out?
Well, obviously, it doesn't work in all situations. Like the mosh, I guess if there's a mosh pit up, you can cleanse somebody, they get out and they can interrupt the mosh if they have an interrupt, potentially. But either way, it is a pretty short cooldown cleanse, which is cool. Mystic's a healer. Mystic, do you like having cleanse in your kit? Would this be something you'd consider?
I mean, I think it's really good. Like Shiz said, though, like if they're in a mosh or if they're in the middle of the route instead of like on the edge or something, then yeah, you can't really cleanse them and they're pretty much boned. But if they get stunned by like
it's a poor man's cleanse.
Yeah, but it's on a really short cooldown,
and it's on 16, your most important tier talent, and it's on 16.
Yeah, it's tough to take that against Wave 100 Fists, because Wave 100 Fists now is just important almost no matter what you take.
It's also where your double heal's at too.
Mm-hmm.
Your wave, so you're giving. It's not good. There's just too much better shit on there to take cleansing touch. And if you needed a cleanser, you shouldn't have picked Kharazim, because they screwed the pooch on that one.
Yeah, well, that's true. That's a very competitive talent here. I didn't even realize Echo of Heaven was on there as well. So
16 is the biggest outside of heroics, that's the biggest talent tier right there. That's where everyone gets their spike is 16, and they put his cleanse on that talent.
Yeah, that being said, some heroes have like the obvious level 16 choice. Like here, the problem is like some of these are good talents, but it's almost like you have to go a certain way potentially, right? I think Wave 100 Fists is the way to go, just because you are proccing your level 1, whatever it happens to be. It's almost good in most situations, but
overall in all, yeah. I don't like his new kit.
You don't like it? Well, Hot Slug says differently. His win rate's gone up by 4.6%. I know it's only Hot Slug, but he is now the third highest win rate healer in the game. It's something to shake a stick at.
Yeah, but is it healing or is it DPS?
That's true. We don't know if he's solo support or if he's going in as a utility.
I don't know if he's going to be a viable support anymore. I think he's because Ariel outshines him in heals. I think
We
do have a professional support player too. You're right. So
I feel like his 4 talent, his Earth ally, is really, really strong against auto attack heroes because it essentially gives your team a 50% damage reduction against auto attack heroes as long as you can hold that position.
I think he's like a Medivh now. I don't think he's like a solo healer anymore. He could have been a solo healer. He was a solo healer. If you were good enough with him, he's no longer a solo healer.
So what's his role then?
He's more like a Medivh or a
like when would you take him? If you need extra damage?
When you need damage, but you also need a little bit of heals.
Maybe like a task.
But you also need he's a jack of all trades, master of none. He's got vision. He's got damage mitigating abilities. He's got really good heroics. He can put out good damage now. He's a jack of all trades, master of none.
So not a solo healer, but a complementary healer is what we're thinking there.
People will probably argue with me and say that he is a solo healer, and those are for the high skill cap people going up against like the Kharazim mains and that know him intricately probably can do it. But I don't think in Hero League or Quick Match or anything like that you can make him in any competitive scene and say, yeah, he's still a viable solo healer.
So
because cleanse is just too poor. Because cleanse. And
Ariel doesn't have cleanse. Ariel's a solo support.
Doesn't have cleanse, but Ariel never has mana issues. And then you're going to counter out with, it is 1 on Insight. He doesn't get that till level 7 or later. So from 1 to 7 or even later, depending on how much they bully Kharazim and if he can't complete his quest out, he's useless. You're down a hero.
Well, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how he shakes out. I don't know. It's going to be tough to tell like how these talents are going to affect. Like obviously, it's affecting his win rate in a good way. But if it increases his healing output, in a positive light too.
I think he'll be a good person where they pick him and they'll be like, are they going double heal? Or are they going double heals? Or is he going to be a DPS? It's going to be one of those things. Where is Kharazim going to be a full DPS class? With a little bit of utility in there. Or is he going, full damage? It's going to be like a Varian thing. Is Varian going to be the bruiser? Is he going to be the assassin?
Is that our segue into our next segment?
Let's go ahead and talk about him.
Just like Varian, Kharazim can confuse people in the draft because you don't know which way he's going to go. So Varian can do this because he's our newest hero in the Nexus, the High King of the Alliance and from World of Warcraft. First multi-class hero. He's warrior/assassin. Now, he can be spec'd either way. Blizzard says there's 6 different complete builds for him, from solo tank to bruiser to magey to like auto attack, sustain. So this is an interesting character, and my question is, I wonder if they did him well. We only had a couple of days to check it out. Myself and Mystic got to play him quite a bit last night, so we've got some opinions to share with you. But he does seem to have some pretty strong and viable builds. Now, my biggest question mark, I guess, is whether or not, because he's a warrior/assassin, we've been talking about this a lot, can he solo tank? My initial thoughts were no. I didn't think he had the kit for it, because basically what he does is at level 4 and level 10 are his kind of transitional talent tiers, you have to make the decisions there at 4 and 10 what your play style is going to be. Now, his tanky tank build at 4, you know what? Maybe let's back up. Let's go over his kit first so we can get everyone on the same playing field so everyone understands what he does, and then maybe we'll start talking about his builds. So first off, Varian's trait is Heroic Strike. Every 18 seconds, Varian's next basic attack deals bonus damage. Now, each basic attack reduces this cooldown by 2 seconds. So as long as he's attacking, he's reducing that cooldown, getting that kind of bonus critical strike off. It's very similar to like a Samaro type case. Basic abilities. He's got his Q, his Lion's Fang. He launches a shockwave that travels in a straight line. Now, just from a graphical standpoint, I always think of like very similar to Medivh's Q, his little arcane blast there, dealing damage and slowing enemies by 30% for 1.5 seconds. So a little bit of CC there, a little bit of area CC too, because it does travel through heroes. He's also on his W, he's got Parry, which is damage mitigation. Parries all incoming basic attacks for 1.25 seconds, reducing their damage done by 100%. So completely negating any auto attack damage for 1.25 seconds. And there are 2 charges of this. His E is charge. He can charge the target enemy, dealing light damage and slowing them by 75% for 1 second. And again, a little bit of CC, nice gap closing too, because the range on this is fairly nice. Now, where it gets interesting is, again, his level 4, which we'll get into in a second, but his heroics as well. And this is where it really changes the way that he's played. So he's got, his first heroic is Taunt. This is his real tanky heroic. It forces, if this is activatable, so it can force the target enemy hero to attack Varian for 1.25 seconds. It's on a 16-second cooldown, which is extremely short. It passively increases your maximum health by 50%. And it passively reduces your attack speed by 25%. So you're going for health, lower damage, and also having this additional taunt effect, which is kind of cool because you can toss it on a hero, and it's kind of like a mini mind control. They're still doing damage and such, but you're forcing an action on the enemy team, which is potentially suboptimal. It's almost like a root or a stun to a certain degree. Colossal Smash is his next heroic. It smashes the target enemy, dealing damage and making them vulnerable for 3 seconds. So he kind of does like a mini Sonya leap. There's no stun to it, though. Does pretty significant damage and makes him vulnerable for 3 seconds. So 25% extra damage. It's only a 20-second cooldown, which is huge for a gap-closing ability. Passively increases his basic attack damage by 75% and passively reduces his maximum health by 10%. So he's getting more bursty mage type there because he has a lot more burst. Gap closing burst, but he loses the health. It becomes a little bit squishier. Finally, his last heroic, and he's got 3 of them, unlike any other hero in the game. He's got Twin Blades of Fury, which is really fun. His basic attacks now reduce heroic strikes cooldown by 9 seconds instead of 2, so he basically has every 2 or 3 auto attacks. And it increases Varian's movement speed by 30% for 2 seconds. Then, more importantly, his passive attack speed is increased by 100%. Of course, that's counterbalanced a little bit by his basic attack damage being decreased by 25%. So this is more like your sustained DPS talent, if you want to take that as a heroic. So as you can see, these heroics change his playstyle completely. Now, I'm going to quickly jump ahead to his level 4s because I think those are important too. Level 4 and level 10 are the key ones for Varian. Level 4 talents, this is where he makes the decision on how he's going to augment his existing talents. It changes his parry, W, into shield wall. So now parry will make you protected, preventing all incoming damage for the duration, not just auto attacks. So anything that comes on you, a chromie slam, anything from Jane, any sort of burst damage will completely be negated. It's exactly the same as Medivh's talent there. The other level 4 is Warbringer. Changes your charge into a full-out stun. It stuns the target for 0.75 seconds and instead of slowing them. And its cooldown is reduced to 8 seconds from 16. So you've got an incredibly low point-and-click gap-closing stun, which is crazy. So now that I've gone over those, we can talk a little bit about his builds, because obviously his talents augment what I'm talking about. But like as I said, big question, can he solo tank? If you at level 4 take this talent which makes him protected to mitigate all damage, which is the tanky choice there, you're giving up this potential stun. So you're losing out on a lot of the CC. So your only stun would be a slow, and two different slows, a gap closing
That
slow.
slow is pretty much a stun. Oh my gosh.
It's close, but that stun and the lowered cooldown on it too is something that's very important here with Warbringer as well. So the question is, like, is this shield wall, and you can spec into it so you can have it really frequently. You can have this protected status quite often. Is it enough? Right? You can become really tanky. Mystic says, hey, he can be as tanky as a Murden with Avatar. Like, is that good enough? Does he still have enough CC to fill that role? I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you think he can tank, solo tank? Mystic had an interesting idea. He says you still go for the stun, and you can still spec into the tank. So, I mean, I don't know. We're going to find out a lot of this stuff as things shake out, but I don't know. What are your guys' thoughts on Varian? Do you think he can solo tank?
I think he can solo tank because you pick up the level 10 talent, right? It increases your HP by 50%. So I wouldn't go for the protected here because then you don't have the threat of that charge very often. Like, you charge in and then you taunt someone, right? What do you have after that? Your Q. You slow them, but there's really no incentive to hit you because you're just sitting there autoing and you're not actually doing any damage or CC after that taunt. I mean, the slow on your Q will be a little bit, but it's not that much. However, if you take the stun and the reduction on the cooldown, then you can stun every 8 seconds or 6 to 8 seconds, one of those, which puts out that threat, right? And then with that taunt, you can combine it up to at least 2 seconds of CC, which can chain into a lot of other CCs. And so then he puts out a lot of threat, which means, hey, if we don't kill this guy, he's going to stun us every so often, and then his taunt is going to be up pretty soon too.
And that stun is huge. It's not a Murden skill shot. It's not an ETC slide, which is dodgeable. This is something, it's a point and click. If you're within range of Varian and he's got a stun up, you're going to get stunned. Like, unless obviously Varian gets stunned while doing it, which would be a very high skill cap move. But what we found playing with Mystic, and what I've seen a ton in the PTR and just in the live game, is that it's an amazing gap closer. Combined with some of his other abilities too, you can do a ton of burst damage. You can delete someone before they even know what's going on. We're playing some great combos with Varian. Is anyone who can chain that stun, even with a skill shot once, you're guaranteed going to hit that skill shot. So we were playing a lot of Varian Murden. So I'd go in, charge him, start attacking. As soon as the stun's off is done, Mystic would stun him too. He'd be dead. Especially we won a game with Alrak too. Alrak joining on the bandwagon. Just the delete squad. It was so easy to delete characters. The ganking potential was huge. I did notice that in team fights I had to be a bit careful because you don't want to jump too far because you might get yourself out of position and potentially die. But still, just the ability to delete in a coordinated team, or even like not even that coordinated, like it's pretty obvious who you're hitting there, so everyone else can take the cues from that, was pretty powerful. And what we were taking a lot, actually, for his heroic was his Colossus Smash. I see Octobus in the chat there is saying his sustain build's amazing. That's what I've been taking a lot, but then Mystic's like, hey, let's try to Smash out, because you make him vulnerable for 3 seconds as well. And the guy's dead in 3 seconds. You Colossus Smash him, make him vulnerable, you charge him, then if you get one other chain stun in from a Murden or Thrall, anything to root the guy, he's not going to be moving anywhere for long enough that he's going to be dead really quickly. It doesn't even take a lot of cycling of abilities to do that too. So Mystic was getting pretty excited. He's like, I got to tell the team about some of these combos. This is going to be something good to throw there. He doesn't have a high win rate right now in Hero League, but I think he's got the potential to do well in very coordinated comps. My personal thoughts are not as a tanky, like a solo tank, but more as a complementary, like frontliner type tank.
Kind of like an Arthas, or an Arthas.
Yeah. Because that stun CC, like the gap closing, is just incredible. Because then after you stun them, you still have a slow too. So you stun them. If they start running away, you slow them. If there's no root follow-up they have on the team, because you've got that stationary target for whatever it is, a second for a stun, it's almost impossible to get away from a Varian who's got a teammate on hand with another hard CC as well. So I found that was pretty impactful. And the Colossus Smash, we're talking a 20-second cooldown. That thing's up all the time. I was using it on Garden Terrors left, right, and center. I was like while you like the AI one that you're firing for seeds, I was like, well, we might as well just try and burn it down faster. This thing's going to be up in 20 seconds anyways. And at level 20, you can actually get down to 10-second cooldown too. So the cooldown is insane on that. That being said, I see a lot of Varians taking the Twin Blades of Fury, that's the increased auto attack, and one of the sneaky damn things about that is you can solo a boss at 10 with that. Because one of his talents, and maybe we won't go over all of them, but on level 7, it's a self-sustained build, self-sustained talent tier. He's got Second Wind is one of his talents where the basic abilities heal him for 1% of his maximum health. While below 50% health, they also heal you for 50% not basic abilities, basic attacks. They also heal you for 50% of the damage dealt. So this is like a pretty big Illidan-style life leech there on level 7. So if you combine that with your increased attack speed, he becomes very self-sustainable in a fight, especially against something like a boss. On that talent tier, you also have 2 other damage mitigation, self-sustaining type things. You can increase the duration of parry by 33%. And if you block at least 2 hero basic attacks with a single parry, his cooldown is reduced by 3 seconds. So that's if you're going more tanky tank. And then Victory Rush, which is kind of cool too, and I played around with it as well. This talent is that every 60 seconds, your next basic attack will heal you for 417 health. Plus 4% per level, so it's a pretty huge little self-heal. But when a nearby enemy minion dies, the cooldown is reduced by 15 seconds. So if you're on like Tomb of the Spider Queen, if you have a few minions die near you, this is pretty much a little instant heal that you get there. So that's pretty cool too. But the Second Wind talent's the one I'm zoning in on here because your basic attacks heal you for 1% of your maximum health, and while below 50%, you get extra 50% of the damage dealt. So if you're sitting there, even 1v1ing someone, you are just leeching life like crazy or soloing a boss, which is not hard with Varian. This makes it definitely viable. So that's one of those sustained DPS bits that makes him an interesting build as well, the Twin Blades of Fury. I think it's more of like solo Varian doing your own thing, whereas the Colossus Smash I think is a bit more useful in a coordinated team comp because you have that extra gap closer, that extra vulnerability, and it's got more delete potential. I don't know. What are your guys' thoughts on these ultimates? I mean, they all seem viable.
All I know is that I hate playing against Varian. I haven't been able to play him myself, but I just hate playing against him.
As much as you hate playing against Samuro?
I don't mind Samuro.
Samuro's nerf has taken him down, by the way. Now he's hovering around the 50% mark. He's no longer super OP. So that's a nice little change there. You're not getting deleted by Samuro's left, right, and center. You're not seeing Samuro's in quick match every single game, too. Now you're seeing Varian in every game. But, yeah, it is quite frustrating. It's almost more annoying than getting caught up by an Illidan. Like, if you get caught up by a Varian, especially post-level 10, it becomes very difficult to get away from him. Now, do you think there's any downside to Varian because it does take until level 10 for him to kind of fall into his role? Because he's more late game. I mean, I guess...
Well, yeah, he's a late game tank. He's not an early game tank. If you do that. As for his DPS part, I think it's very, very solid. I hate playing against the DPS version of him. His stuns and his slows and his parry.
I feel like he has no bad talents. Like, I've looked at all of his talents, and all of his talents are really strong. I don't think he really has any bad ones.
Yeah, and I think Blizzard's done a very good job. A little pat on the back to Blizzard here, because this I could see being a very difficult hero to balance. I think I mentioned last week, I was like, you know what's going to happen? It's just going to be, there's going to be one way to play him, and it's just the nature of the beast. There's going to be one more powerful talent kind of tree that you can go with, and that's probably going to be the way that everyone filters Varian and slots him into a role as. But it does seem that they've got multiple viable builds here, and a lot of it can depend on what the situation is. Now, like I said, my jury's still out on solo tanking. You guys might, it sounds like you could disagree to a certain extent, but I think he fills the bruiser or kind of like a DPS role pretty well with his abilities at 10 especially. So, I mean, another neat thing about Varian, too, that we hadn't talked about yet, at level 13, he gets his banner talents, which is kind of cool. It's a numerical act available bit, so you press the 1 or whatever it happens to be when you take the talent. You drop down a banner, very similar to a totem or one of the Kharazim spirit allies. There's 3 options: Banner of Stormwind, Banner of Ironforge, and Banner of Dalaran. So these 3 banners, the Stormwind banner grants 25% increased movement speed to nearby allies. The Banner of Ironforge places a banner that grants resistance to nearby allies, reducing damage taken by 25%. And Banner of Dalaran activates activate to grant 20% increased ability power to nearby allied heroes. Now, one of the cool things is it actually plays different music based on like those cities in World of Warcraft, which is kind of cool, a nice little cool touch. But like Mystic was saying, these are all useful in different situations. Like, and it's hard to find any talents anywhere for Varian that you can say like that would be garbage no matter what, right? There's arguments for them all in different situations for sure. One other interesting thing I want to point out without going over all of his talents, level 16. If you're playing Varian and you're up against an Artanis, Morales with her little shielding talent, Joanna with her indestructible at 20, you've got Shattering Throw at level 16. It's your anti-shield talent. You activate to throw a sword, and it deals 1,457 plus 4% per level damage to their shields. Basically, you throw a sword, it's going to eliminate their shield. You delete an Artanis' shield. You delete that Joanna who's on like 1 health after indestructible procs. You're going to delete that shield. Not to mention your basic attacks now do 200% bonus damage to shields. So shields are a thing of the past when you're coming against the level 16 Varian. And it's a lot of fun. You sit there, you wait to see Artanis' shield come up, you press your button, shield's gone, dead Artanis. Simple as that. This is a nice hard counter to a lot of heroes. And me and Mystic had a lot of fun with it yesterday. Well, we were quick matching, but we're like, here's Artanis. Later, buddy, you picked Artanis.
Oh, man. Yeah, that is an anti-Artanis. I didn't even think about that for a second. I was like, who would be good with the anti-shield Artanis?
Yeah, there's actually a surprising lot. I mean, like, there's Tastar. He can remove all of his shields that he throws out from a target. There's Artanis, who relies on his shields very, very much so.
Yeah.
Even like a Morales who specs into it. If she specs into while at full health or whatever, she gets her shields as well. You can remove those shields right away. Like, it's a lot of health pool you can remove from a hero in an instant. So it's a pretty cool talent.
This is really funny because Artanis gets that burst of shields, right, that decays to its normal amount or something after a certain amount of time, but it's a lot of shield. And so it was really funny when I was like, all right, Artanis is below 50%, here comes his shield. His shield comes up and it's like a quarter of his HP, and suddenly Daz uses a Shattering Throw, it's gone. Just instantly gone. 100% of it is gone. And I was like, holy crap.
More satisfying. So let's quickly take a look at his level 20s too, because there's a lot of strong stuff there too. I looked at his level 20s, I was like, half the time I don't know what to take. He's got his buffs to his ultimates. For Vigilance is his taunt buff. Being hit by a hero basic attack reduces the cooldown of taunt by 0.75 seconds. So you'll basically have taunt up quite frequently because it's already on a 16-second cooldown. So that's quite the little increase to that. Master at Arms is a Colossus Smash buff. So Colossus Smash damages all enemies near your target, and its cooldown is reduced by 10 seconds. So you've got it on a very long 10-second cooldown. So that's multiple times in a fight, and that makes a huge difference. You're just making everyone vulnerable left, right, and center, just jumping all over the place. Like, you're like a mini Illidan almost with your gap closing, smashing all over the place, doing your charge left, right, and center too. So that's a pretty cool one, and it does area damage too. Frenzy, which is your Twin Blades buff. Twin Blades of Fury increases your attack speed by an additional 15% because 100% wasn't enough. And your basic attacks increase your movement speed by an additional 10%. So, hey, let's just make him even faster at attacking and faster movement speed. So suddenly he's becoming more like Samuro. Like, you just can't get away from him if he's attacking you. Glory of the Alliance. Allied heroes near your banner also receive 50% increased healing, and its cooldown is reduced by 20 seconds. So that affects any of your banners, whichever one you choose. Well, Missy, what do you think of that one being a healer main? Do you like that idea of having 50% increased healing to everyone in the circle?
I think that is actually insane because the banner lasts for 12 seconds as long as it's like alive. So if you put it kind of in the back and then you blow your healing cooldowns, that is a lot of healing. Like for Brightwing or something, every 4 seconds. Brightwing doesn't actually heal that much normally, but if you put that down, that's a lot of healing.
Oh, for sure. And you can put it down the back and just kind of, everyone can just top up a little bit easily, right? Just run back into the range and such. And that's not to put down the next one, Demoralizing Shout too, which is on a 25-second cooldown. And these are, it's crazy some of the low cooldowns on some of these abilities. You can activate to demoralize nearby enemy heroes, reducing damage they deal by 25% for 5 seconds. Now, this is about the range of, say, like an Imposing Presence-ish. It's a small little area of effect around Varian, so it's not all of the heroes or as big as any of his banners, but still 25% damage for melee assassins especially. This can reduce, and 5 seconds is a long time for them to be 25% reduced damage. That's a pretty impressive thing as well. So, again, a lot of strong talents, and like we said, I think he's kind of a later game hero, but he really can shine late game. So Shiz, is this gonna make you want to try out Varian?
Oh, I've already got him on my honey to-do list, but Blizzard's not cooperating with me.
He is so much fun to play. Definitely an awesome play style. So if anyone hasn't had a chance to try him out, definitely drop the 10,000, 15,000 gold I guess he's at now, or wait for him to come down to 10,000, but you're going to be pleasantly surprised. He's a great hero to play, and we didn't even go over all the talents too, but it's amazing having these different viable options along the way, very similar to like a Kharazim, but like on steroids for his choices.
A couple of pro tips here. So Vigilance, it's the level 20 taunt talent that every auto attack you take reduces your taunt cooldown. If you're playing the tank variant, right? If you have two targets that are in front of you and one of them's like a mage and the other one's a Rainer or something, you'll probably want to target the Rainer because he'll probably have more attack speed, so you'll get that taunt cooldown off faster. The other one being Glory of the Alliance. I think, I haven't actually tried this, but if you're healing on your fountain, and that fountain doesn't exactly heal that fast. If you put your Glory of the Alliance banner down, I think you'll heal a lot faster. So get back into that fight quicker.
For sure, yeah. And there's a lot of things we're going to be finding out about Varian over the coming weeks, too, as people get their hands on them and a little bit more playtime in them, too. So that's pretty cool. I think we're going to end the show here, though. This is a record. It's only an hour and 23 minutes, gents.
Oh, I know, right? Shit.
I think Shiz was about to fall asleep there during some of the Variant. I know you haven't had a chance to play them too much.
Some of them,
so.
I haven't had to play them, so it's kind of like I have no idea what's going on right now.
Yeah, well, next week we're going to make sure you do your homework for whatever hero or whatever we pick. I imagine the news and everything is going to slow down a little bit, so we're going to be able to focus on maybe some heroes, talk about some strategy and stuff.
Oh man,
I guess Rag's coming. He'll still be a few weeks out, though, but we're definitely going to do a spotlight on Ragnaros, and I know Shiz will be jumping on him as soon as he comes
Oh
out,
my
too.
gosh, yes.
Okay. So everybody, thanks for coming out and listening to the Nexus Trolls, Heroes of the Storm podcast. Now remember, we stream this live on this Twitch channel. It's twitch.tv/the Nexus Trolls every week on Wednesdays at 7:30 p.m. Eastern, 4:30 p.m. Pacific. So you can subscribe to the show on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, or wherever you happen to find your podcasts online. Visit our website, www.thenexustrolls.com. Very clever, I know. To watch this and past shows, along with past video streams, which can also be found on our YouTube channel. All the links for all that stuff's on our website, so check that out. For announcements about the show and general Heroes of the Storm news, you can follow us on Twitter at the Nexus Trolls. And finally, if you need to get in touch with us, the best way is by email at podcast@thenexustrolls.com. Send us an email, we'll field it during the show. Anyways, that's our show. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you guys next week.
'Cause I'm TNT, I'm dynamite.